In a French TV show, you recently said that you never argued for military intervention in Iran, but on the 10th of February, you clearly stated in an interview with Glenn Beck that only a foreign military intervention could neutralize the apparatus of repression in Iran, and only that can be the solution. Do you feel responsible for the many innocent Iranians who have died to the US and Israeli bombs, may I say illegal bombing that you supported?
First of all, the targeting of the regime's infrastructure and its elements of coercion was absolutely something that the Iranian people actually called for. They were asking, they were in fact insisting that come and help us. Based on what President Trump has said at the time, that if the regime hits the people, they will see a very harsh response. The air cover campaign that included hitting the regime infrastructure and apparatus of repression was a necessary step to equalize the playing fields for Iranians that were getting massacred on the streets, defenseless, by the regime that used military weapons to shoot them on the street. How else do you expect defenseless people to have a chance to actually overcome this regime without some outside help? Many times we saw conflicts where outside interventions were necessary. The partisans fought fascism with outside help in Italy. France was liberated when the Allied landed on the beaches of Normandy to put an end ultimately to the Second World War. This is the kind of intervention that should be perceived as an element that helps the people as opposed to the regime. And of course, I'm not shying away from that position that we have every right to tell the world when we are being shot on the streets, how else are we supposed to protect ourselves? We can't do it by ourselves. In fact, that was in the interest of protecting more lives from getting lost, because the more the regime has a means to suppress people, the more casualties we will face. This is something that, in fact, limits the casualties as opposed to add to the casualties. And no one likes to see civilian casualties. Of course I don't. Of course we ache for anybody that has been collateral damage. But we are not apologizing for calling for our freedom. We went to the streets and I told people on the eve of that protest, why don't you chant your slogans, whether from home or on the streets, for freedom? And that's what they did. The result was the regime massacring people to the tune of 40,000 people or more in less than 48 hours. Should we say, oh, the regime will kill us if we call for our freedom, so we better not ask for it? What person, what patriots will shy away from asking for our freedom? That's all we did. Again, so I think the world should be apologizing to Iranian people for ignoring them. You should be the ones apologizing to the Iranian people that for 47 years, your governments have appeased this regime. You turn your back on the Iranian people. They didn't rise up only this time. They rose up many times in the past 40 years. They rose when Khatami became the first president. He threw students from their dormitories when they were protesting the fact that he was not delivering on his campaign promise. Later on in the Green Movement, they were thrown under the bus yet again. Okay. During the Women Life Freedom Movement, symbolic gestures, but still continued appeasement of the regime. Even today, as I speak to you, you're shifting back to a mode of appeasement.
Again,
I think you should be apologizing to the people of Iran for appeasing the regime as opposed to having their back. I'm here to tell you we are asking you this time to support the Iranian people. And we're not going to apologize for that demand because I think the Iranian people deserve your support. And I told you we will fight the fight regardless of whether you help us or not. But let that be on your conscience.
Again, on French TV,
I think you asked too many questions.
No, I can ask one more question. That's my right. Again, on French TV, you clearly stated or you denied the fact that you supported military intervention. And
yes,
now,
I do. I did.
And
of course I did.
You denied the fact.
I just told you the
reason.
reason.
You please let me ask my question? You denied the fact that you support military intervention. Now, again, you legitimize the military intervention. I have another question. Your wife has in the past shared a post with a poster that says "Death to the Left." Do you distance yourself from this sentiment? Is that according to your own values and the values that you want to bring if you ever were to be the leader of Iran?
Look, when my wife and many other Iranians were marching on the streets of Paris during a protest during the Women Life Freedom Movement, they were heckled by the very same left that you say by chanting slogans calling for the Shah's death or things of that nature. So nobody should be defending that kind of language coming from whatever side it is. I do not condone it. I do not defend it. I think that's below the standard of pluralism and tolerance. But the real issue is to understand what the Iranian people now are focused on. It's not about the left or the right. It's about liberation versus captivity. It is not about who will win the vote at the end of the day. It's about the fact that we don't have the choice to vote right now under this regime. Let's be focused on what's at stake here. And be careful about the narrative that the regime and its elements keep pushing to try to split the Iranian opposition. A narrative that are carefully engaging in social media, in cyberspace, to provoke tension, to provoke conflict. Many of these accusations come from fake accounts on Instagram and on X. You should know better as journalists. So I ask you to be more diligent and dismiss those fake accounts or those fake narratives that is aimed solely as an attempt to derail the situation. But yes, I also will defend the fact that we should not promote or say that hate speech should be part of the equation. It is frowned upon, it is not acceptable, and I, for one, have always condemned that kind of behavior, and I'm on the record for it.